Hi guys, so this is my vlog 3 and I'm going to be covering my coaching philosophy. I'm doing this due to the COVID-19 situation. The aims of my vlog are to outline the philosophies and styles and approaches that I've found, outline my personal coaching philosophy and how I implement this in my session, and then also explain how and why I've adopted my approach. If we look at the current philosophies, I've identified the humanistic approach and the behaviourist approach. The humanistic approach is athlete-centred and not outcome-driven. Rogers 1983 states that a human's nature is to learn. So that's where us as coaches facilitate the learning of our athletes by providing the right situation and environment for them to do so. The behaviourist approach, is where athletes and learners will learn to repeat the correct action if they are given positive feedback, and that's mentioned by Skinner in 1974. On the other hand, if the athlete is provided with negative feedback, they are less likely to repeat the action. This can be done through either verbal or non-verbal feedback. Okay, so if we look at my approach, and to be honest, it's a mixture of the humanistic and the behaviourist approach, because I like to develop the athlete as a whole, both physically and psychologically, and I like to provide positive feedback when they perform something well, and I like them to self-discover when they are performing something not so well. If I expand on what I mean in terms of how going into education has helped me as a coach, I've been able to look into a greater amount of detail at approaches such as Gange 1985 and the different levels of learning, and also the Kolb cycle. And with the Kolb cycle, I've been able to understand the importance of review, analysis, and then implementing the changes. Whereas the Gange has enabled me to understand that athletes are at different stages and will learn at different points. The tools that I've learned in education have allowed me to kind of adapt and mould my coaching session to a more learning-friendly approach, using, for example, the VAC approach, despite there being limited evidence to support it, as mentioned by Kratzik and Arbuthnot 2006. The reason why I still use it is because I believe it benefits my session, allowing athletes to understand movements from different viewpoints. The reason why I offer and use the Kolb theory is because it offers up an opportunity for them to observe and reflect their performance and allow them to kind of self-discover how to develop rather than being specifically led by a coach. The way that I look to implement my philosophy through my session is right the way through, from the start to the end. I will look to provide positive reinforcement and instructions to them using visual, verbal, and getting them physically doing it. I will also look and aim to guide them and facilitate them in the discussions in correction and development, so that they can discover how to achieve something correctly without me physically telling them, because I believe there's nothing more powerful than an athlete discovering how to perform an activity correctly themselves. The feedback that I will typically use will range from internal to external feedback, depending on the athlete's ability and level and their actual situation. With more advanced athletes, I typically use more external feedback because they're further along in their learning process. So, moving on to my coaching values that I implement and apply as a coach, and I feel that are integral for me to achieve successful outcomes within my session, and they are empathy, integrity, approachable, engaging, motivation, and most of all being positive. I'm going to highlight a couple here that I feel that are the most valuable. The first one is empathy. Being able to understand an athlete and understand what external factors that could come in and affect them in their session is vital to be able to then implement strategies to prevent that from impacting their performance. Second one is being positive. If we're positive and we can engage and make training and sessions fun, it allows athletes to want to come on that journey with you and stay on the journey.